a city on edge. Melbourne's streets have become a stage for protests, political confrontation, and cultural clashes. In late August 2025, Melbourne witnessed a wave of anti-immigration rallies branded as March for Australia. Organisers cited concerns over housing, infrastructure, and cultural change. But beneath the surface lay troubling hate rhetoric and extremist undertones. On a day marked by nationwide demonstrations, the atmosphere in Melbourne was charged, but largely peaceful. Yet within the crowds, a sinister element began to coalesce. Dressed uniformly in black, members of the neo-Nazi group, the National Socialist Network, led by the notorious extremist Thomas Sewell, gathered with clear intent. Their target was Camp Sovereignty, a permanent fixture at King's Domain. For years, this site has served as a sacred space for First Nations people, a place for ceremony, a symbol of ongoing resistance, and home to a perpetually burning sacred fire, tended by its guardians. Suddenly, the group broke away from the main rally, marching in a disciplined military-style formation directly towards the unsuspecting camp. What followed was an eruption of calculated violence. Raw footage captures the chaos as they stormed the site, overwhelming the few people present. They can be seen assaulting individuals with sticks and fists, while shouting racial slurs and performing Nazi salutes. The attack was not just physical, it was deeply symbolic. Sacred items were desecrated, and cultural banners were torn down and trampled underfoot, in a deliberate act of racist aggression designed to intimidate and violate one of the city's most significant Indigenous landmarks. The assault triggered widespread condemnation. Victoria Police launched an investigation, and federal counter-terrorism agencies took interest. Sewell and others were arrested, facing multiple charges including violent disorder and assault. Bail was denied, with courts highlighting the public risk. In the wake of the disruptive protests, the political fallout was swift. The hallowed halls of Victoria's Parliament became the new battleground, as the events on the streets ignited a fierce debate over public dissent and state control. Seizing the moment, opposition leaders called for an immediate crackdown, demanding the adoption of tougher, New South Wales-style anti-protest legislation. This would grant police sweeping powers for move-on orders and stricter permit conditions, giving authorities a much shorter leash on demonstrations. But this push was met with a stark warning from civil libertarians, who argued such laws represent a dangerous erosion of democratic rights, creating a chilling effect that could silence not just extremists, but all legitimate protest. Caught in the crossfire, the government pointed to its own solution. New anti-vilification laws set to commence on September 20th. These are designed to combat hate speech by criminalizing conduct that incites hatred or serious contempt. However, many experts argue that punitive laws are merely a band-aid on a deeper wound. They contend that legal deterrence alone cannot solve the underlying issues of social fragmentation. The real long-term solution, they insist, requires a broader, more proactive approach, significant investment in education to foster critical thinking, and robust funding for community-led programs that build social cohesion from the ground up. Meanwhile, the city of Melbourne acknowledged the ongoing strain, weekly anti-Israel protests rattling businesses, disruptions to trade, and diverting police resources across Victoria. These demonstrations are part of a wider pattern of activism, from pro-Palestinian rallies to climate actions, that increasingly challenge public order, protest policy, and civic norms in Victoria. Melbourne, a city long celebrated for its vibrant culture and progressive spirit, now finds itself at a critical crossroads. The events we've witnessed are more than just isolated incidents. They represent a dangerous confluence of forces that threatens the social fabric. On one hand, the raw anger of legitimate civic protest, born from frustration and a desire to be heard. On the other, the insidious creep of extremist ideologies, hijacking genuine grievances for their own violent and divisive agendas. This toxic blend, amplified in the echo chambers of social media, has deepened political divisions, turning public squares into battlegrounds. The trust between the public and the authorities, and indeed among citizens themselves, has been severely eroded. The challenge ahead is immense. How the city and the state chooses to respond will be a defining moment. It's not merely a question of restoring order or deploying more police. It's about navigating a path that upholds the fundamental right to peaceful assembly, while unequivocally condemning violence and hate. The decisions made now will define not just the future of public protest, but the very character and values at the heart of our democracy for a generation to come.